final time this season, the GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli is in action. We're at the Circuit de Catalunya. We're outside Barcelona. The sun is shining, but it's a chilly morning, and therefore there are going to be two formation laps ready for this final round of the championship that has already been sewn up in Pro-Am by Bronek Formanek and Stefano Rossina. They're not racing this weekend in this championship. They've gone back to Lamborghini Super Trofeo and perhaps fittingly took a class win yesterday. The AM category here has been won in pretty dominant fashion by Philippe Pret, and he had another win yesterday, his his seventh victory of the season, and he's about to start from his 8th pole position of the year. So it's been a great season for Philippe Pret. He's also done very impressive things outright, like winning one of the races at Zandvoort and winning one of the races, in fact both races I should say, outright at Valencia. So really impressive year for Philippe Pret. The GT2 European Series will be a 1-hour race. There is the mandatory pit window between 25 and 35 minutes, and there is a regulation pit stop time that everybody has to adhere to, unless you have the so-called compensation time. So the drivers will, if you're in the top 3, carry extra time in the pit. Now, just to confuse life a little bit, there are some cars here that don't score points because they're late into the championship, guest entries if you like. They still carry the time for their position if they're in the top 3, but so also does the next point scoring car. So if you were 4th yesterday, you're actually 3rd if there's a guest ahead of you, because you move up for the purposes of points, and therefore you cop for the compensation time. David Addison and Joe Osborne, and we are trackside, ready for the start of this race. Alex Legui is down on the grid, and before we go racing, let's hear from some of our drivers.
A very good morning to you, Andrea Bertolini. First of all, how's your retirement going, sir?
It's good, you know, at the end we're still on track, and yeah, it's a good fun, you know, always with the people on the motorsport. Yeah, it's good. I am so happy.
Now, we are standing in front of the beautiful Maserati, which has been a dominant force in GT, so it's no surprise that it's one of our SRO GT Academy's founding partners. Tell me a little bit more about this relationship.
You know, we are extremely proud to be partner of SRO family, especially in this project. You know, the young driver, and you know, it's part of our DNA, GT racing. We have a great history, and it's a really top idea from all the SRO group and Stefan. You know, it will be the natural step for the young driver to growing, to learn, to be ready for the GT3, you know, in the future. And yeah, as a Maserati, next year we will be the 100th anniversary. This is the best way, with the collaboration with SRO, to, yeah, with the young driver.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Andrea. I'll leave you to it.
Andrea Bertolini, their multiple FIA GT champion, FIA GT1 World Champion, Spa 24 Hours winner, Superstars champion, you name it. The CV, a very impressive one, and he elected to stand down after Monza this year, but he still has his Maserati involvement, and therefore that's why he's here as part of the crew that operates those official vehicles. I noticed that one car is missing from the grid, like yesterday, I'm afraid to say. Lennart Marianec should have started yesterday's race on pole position. Technical problem put the car out, and it doesn't look as though it's been able to be cured overnight. So the car that would have had a pole and a second on the grid, not starting again. There's yesterday's winning car. Pierre Caffer will start, and Otto Blank, having his championship debut, will take over. Really good effort yesterday. They were last on the grid, Joe, but everything fell into their lap, and they came through for a really good win.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Otto Blank's pace. After what looked like a difficult qualifying in last place, he suddenly found a load of form in the opening stint of the race and got the car up there. And with the pit stop penalties and then the pace of Caffer, they converted a last to first, and it was a great race for them.
Absolutely right. And they're the Mercedes AMG that is going to start from 4th on the grid. Neil Montserrat starts. It's his team, the NM Racing team. So Neil Montserrat, who gets an extra 10 seconds of compensation time in the pits. In yesterday's race, they had a bit of damage sustained when they were in the lead, but they still came through to finish 3rd. Neil Montserrat in the car, Alex Legui standing alongside.
Niels, yesterday was not the easiest of races. Hoping for redemption today?
For sure, for sure. We are suffering a bit with tire degradation. Not easy at all. Stint number 2. here in Barcelona there's a lot of tire degradation, but we did little modifications and we will improve for sure on that side. And I'm ready to fight on the first thing like always. So yeah, grid is very nice, level is super high on quality with all the pro drivers, and I'm excited to see what we can do.
Great, have a great race.
Thank you.
Neil Montserrat yesterday had to really charge in a car that was a bit battle-scarred. His co-driver Alberto Di Martin was leading in his stint and just got tagged by Roberto Pampanini, for which the car was given a penalty, the Maserati of Pampanini, for causing a collision. It looked superficial, but it certainly did enough damage to delay the car, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot of diffuser damage, wasn't it? So it would have been losing downforce, especially from that rear end. So that would have been a struggle to look after those tyres, and that sounds like their main complaint ahead of their NM Racing Mercedes there.
Another new car to the grid this weekend is the new Ginetta G56 GT2, and it had a good run yesterday. Freddie Tomlinson took second, and he is with Alex.
Freddie, wow, what a debut yesterday was. How was it to be behind the wheel of this amazing car in this championship?
Yeah, it felt great to be behind the car yesterday. It was a really fun race with the Audi, and it's a great championship. So yeah, just looking forward to the race again today and seeing if we can get one better for today, yeah.
I hope so. Now you've got to know what the grid's like. Do you need to keep going? Do you want to keep going? Because I can speak to...
No, it's all good. Yeah,
you're all good? Yeah, so now you've got an idea of the grid. What do you feel like your chances are today? And you can push a little bit harder today, can't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously finishing second in the first race was a great result for the car. And yeah, it'd be great to get one better later today. So we'll see what we can do. Good,
you keep going. Lawrence, how proud are you?
No, it was great. It was great to race with Freddie yesterday. And the debut for the car was amazing. It was ahead of expectations for us. I mean, we were hoping for a top 5. We got a bit lucky because of the crash in turn 1 and missed that. And yeah, I think, you know, Freddie's driving super well. So I'm looking forward to the race today, see what I can do. Hopefully he just enjoys racing, so I'm very proud of him and proud of the car.
May luck be on your side again today. Have a good one.
Lawrence Tomlinson, no mean racer, but of course the boss of Ginetta. And Dad and Lad go racing. Well, the worst thing to do on a Sunday morning, aren't they? Freddie Tomlinson starts today, and it's the driver that qualified the car who is the start driver. So therefore you get an idea of their pace relative to one another because it's in the grid order of yesterday's qualifying session. This is Philippe Pret's Maserati. He's one of the drivers that elects to go solo. It's a pretty grueling weekend, but he does get a lot of track time, and Philippe Pret has been impressive again, and that Maserati has been an impressive weapon of choice again this season too.
Yeah, it's been really good, isn't it? And metronomic as well with its reliability. Had a puncture at Spa for the #1 car, but bar that, this car has seemed to run faultlessly, sound great, look great, and it has gone great for Philippe Pret, who's been dominant in the AM class.
The only downside is because he keeps winning, he ends up with these longer pit stops with the compensation time, so he will have 14 seconds to serve. He could do with a safety car in the second stint to bring him back into the equation. This car yesterday got a drive-through for an infringement before the race started, leaving the pit lane. Andre Rokosh starts the Mercedes AMG and swing the other way, and there's Oliver Freimut, who on the last lap of the race ended up in the gravel yesterday.
Yeah, listening to the music, he'll be trying to take some positives out the bright side of the life. And yeah, unfortunate for him, and the team obviously would have cleared the car out of all the gravel, and it's good to go. Interesting, the car missing there, the second place you said about David. They requested to do a hardship lap this morning, so they obviously thought they could fix the car, but haven't been able to, so that's a shame to lose it. And there is the car. So they've obviously done the hardship laps this morning, and there's still a problem working away on the front end, so potentially a wheel speed sensor or something, I would guess, isn't okay on the KTM.
But yesterday's race was early afternoon, so they've had, you know, a lot of time to try to work on that car, but clearly all is not well. So if it starts at all, it's going to be from the pit lane, and it's going to be at the back, and it will be Matto Homola who is going to start. So without the overall championship situation to worry about, what we do have is the fight for second and third, which effectively is between number 7, the Roberto Pampanini Mauro Calamia Maserati, and the 115 Mercedes. So we'll keep an eye on the point situation between those. Very early this morning, Mauro Calamia was pacing around race control looking for the stewards for GT2. Not quite sure what all that was in aid of, and whether that's something to do with the race to come or the race of yesterday. But interesting that there was something in the mind of the very rapid Mauro Calamia. So he starts on pole position, and a gap alongside where Matto Homola is not. Pierre Caffer will be one to watch starting on the second row Neil Montserrat to line up alongside. The Barcelona circuit is 4.7 kilometres long, and this is how they should have lined up. Maro Calamia on pole, but Matto Homola having to start from the pits if the car starts at all. Yesterday's winner, Pierre Caffer with Otto Blank, he will go from third on the grid. Alberto Di Martin and Neil Montserrat third yesterday, start fourth. Fifth, Freddie Tomlinson, he starts the car that was second in yesterday's race. Last year's champion, Reinhard Koffner, returning, and although the KTM was delayed early on yesterday, he brought it back up to fifth. Next on the grid, Philippe Pret, yesterday's AM winner, 7 times a winner now. He's got Andre Rocoche alongside. Stefan Rattal starts on the 5th row of the grid, and he's got Oliver Freimuth for company. So, if Matto Homola does get into the race, he's going to be one to watch. That KTM, we know, is quick, with a pole position and a second. Pole position taken by Lennart Marionech. Second on the grid, Matto Homola, and there it is. Now, there are 2 formation laps. So, the clock will start, we are told, at the end of this lap. But then there's the other lap behind the lead Maserati there. So the race will be on, in quotes, even though it will still be under controlled conditions. And all of that is because it's a chilly morning, and it just helps these drivers that in the main are AMs to get a bit of warmth into the tyres, a bit of extra warmth, give them that confidence down to turn 1.
Yeah, the lack of tyre ovens for GT2 meaning they are starting at ambient. And we saw issues at the start here, didn't we, at Paul Ricard with low ambience and issues on opening laps. That was for Anik Patel, wasn't it, in Maserati. Here's the Maserati leading car, the MC Extrema. Sounds phenomenal. And Bertolini waking himself up and the local area. It sounds fantastic, that car.
So the cars go through and the clock does start. So the race notionally on. This is lap 1 of the race, but they will do the side-by-side rolling start at the end of this, and they will be racing proper. So this is all to try and get more tyre temperature and also bring the pressures up as the cars sweep through turn 1. You see that sort of escape lane closest to the camera, and that, if you do run wide, is how you rejoin. Don't just skip back over the curb. You have to follow that escape route and rejoin safely. And a few people yesterday got penalised for not doing so across GT4 and Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Right, this then, now starting from the back, when we go racing, is going to be the KTM Matto Homola at the wheel. So that car joins from the pit lane, and the field now accelerating around the turn 5 downhill left-hander. It's quite a lot in this lap, but then you've got 2 decent-sized straights. The pit straight is nice and long, and the run down from turn 9 to 10, again, you can really stretch the car's legs a little bit there.
Yeah, any Grand Prix circuit is a phenomenal pleasure to drive, and Barcelona is certainly one of those, and the flow of it's good, the overtaking is good, and we spoke about the tyre degradation, didn't we, with Neil Montserrat, and that's a huge factor here, and it sounds a strange thing to say as a driver, but it's an amazing thing to have this tyre deg, because it adds a dynamic that you can control as a driver. If you can look after the tyre better than your competitor, you can turn it into a positive, and it's a huge variable here at Barcelona, seeing tyre deg of anything between 3 and 4 seconds as the tyre goes through its life cycle.
But it's also another factor for the race, isn't it? Because drivers are going to have to be mindful. You might have somebody that's quick early on but then destroys the tyre. You might have somebody that's slow early on but has looked after the rubber better, and they come back into the race late on. So it is an extra element to the racing. But yeah, certainly the tyre degradation and the track surface from the relative lack of grip has been a big talking point over the weekend. The fact that we're going to, of course, release the cars from the 2x2 rolling start is good news for Homola, because they all bunch up a little bit more, and of course the line front to back shrinks because we're going to have the cars in pairs.
Yeah, the Mercedes there, Montserrat, needs to leave the gap as if the KTM was there. So that's a hard one to call, because you want to be as close to the gold Maserati of Clamier as you can, but there could be a penalty if you're deemed to have not left that space.
So Maro Calamia it is who will lead up towards the lights. In another of the races yesterday, we had a driver penalised for accelerating here before the lights went to green. So Calamia has to look after the start as the lights on red will flick to green to get the last race of the season underway in GT2 European Series, powered by Pirelli. The cars accelerate down towards turn 1. It is Calamia versus Montserrat then, and Neil Montserrat in the Mercedes AMG trying to do what his co-driver did yesterday, and that's go all the way around the outside at turn 1, but there's contact straight away. Bit of hip and shoulder between them. Calamia runs wide, Montserrat runs wide. Into the lead goes Pierre Caffa, and up to second is Koffler. Through the gravel now goes Calamia, and there may have been some tyre damage in that.
Yeah, I think front left for Calamia there. You could see some tyre smoke. Interesting, Montserrat, you could see him physically check the right-hand side before he turned in. Then he just turned in anyway. I think that almost felt like a bit of retribution for the damage done on those two cars, but it was the other way round. We'll get another replay, but I think that could be a penalty for Montserrat there in the Mercedes.
Well, Calamia is badly delayed out of all of that. Montserrat has delayed himself, and here in the meantime, Freddie Tomlinson fending off Andre Rocoche, who's about to lose his AM lead because Philippe Pret in the Maserati gets up the inside. So Pierre Caffa leads, Reinhard Koffler is second, Tomlinson goes third, Pret for fourth, and then fifth as the cars sweep up the hill is the KTM behind, and that is Matto Hommler on his toes from the back of the grid, effectively, or the pit lane start. And there with his punctured tyre and possibly even suspension damage is Montserrat. That is either a tyre off the rim or a wheel that's coming off. I think it is the tyre, but Montserrat limps on and Calamia is about to go past him. So the bite a bit in a sense there.
Yeah, it really did. And I guess the replay will also just show us, was Calamia going to make the apex? That will be Montserrat's defence, that he had to turn in at some point, but the contact was right at the turn-in phase for turn one. So interesting how punchy the start was from both of them. Didn't have an option to get out of there, and that's why we saw the contact.
Yeah, and with an hour race, Montserrat having good pace, he certainly could have perhaps planned for a move later on in the lap, but he committed, and we've got two cars limping to the pit lane, and they're going to go a lap down. There is Calamia with not only a punctured tyre, but a wheel that's not even turning. So big damage sustained on the front of the Maserati, and a very unhappy Calamia. The incident has been noted by race control as Caffa leads, Koffler second, Freddie Tomlinson third, Pret fourth leading his class from Rocoche. Hommler from the back is up to sixth, then it's Rattel, Freimut, and into the pit lane comes Calamia and Montserrat in that order. There they are.
Yeah, great race in pit lane between the two, but also a great opening from Hommler. So let's have a look. Like I said, you can see Montserrat checking there. You can see Calamia there. Looks again, looks again. Who creates the contact? It's hard. The actual initial contact is the Mercedes closing the gap. Was Calamia going to make the apex? That was the hard decision there, and I just feel like the Mercedes could have been the car that avoided contact in that incident.
Well, right now, they're both in the pit lane. There is work going on, as you can see, to the Maserati, and that car drops down. The main thing here is to try to stay on the lead lap, and the Mercedes gets away, and now the Maserati is on the way as well. So they're going to be very, very badly delayed. They need a safety car.
Really do. You see the damage on the wheel of the Maserati, a chunk missing, and the car controller had to hold the car because Bertolini there was in the safety car. Luckily Bertolini, with his racing brain still on, stopped in the fast lane to allow the release of that dynamic motorsport Maserati. But now the race for those two continues, and they need a safety car, can't they? You can see some of the tyre debris offline there from one of those two cars.
So this is the race order. Pierre Caffa leading Reinhard Koffler with Freddie Tomlinson third. Audi, KTM, Ginetta. The Audi, one of the original GT2 brands, if you like, but still competitive. And that win yesterday was the first for an Audi since Valencia back at the end of 2023. And Caffa then going a little bit deep through turn one, enabling Reinhard Koffler to close. Koffler, last year's Pro-Am champion. He's not raced this year in the series up until this weekend. It's good to have him back. His co-driver, Marius Eigner, had a spin at turn one yesterday and caused a bit of mayhem as people avoided him. Then he had another off later in the race, but once he regrouped and calmed down, he was pretty quick. So this car should be competitive.
Yeah, and we've seen the KTM be very good on its tyres as well this season, and the Ginetta staying with them. And this didn't happen in the second part of the race yesterday, of course, and Tomlinson did well to stay with Caffa, then started to fade ever so slightly. And speaking with the Ginetta team as they walked in this morning, actually, they were just saying it was just tyre degradation. Of course, that's their first ever race with this GT2 car, so they've learned a lot. They feel like they're in a better place. There is our last place car, and that's the job it's got to do, and it looks like it's got some form of wheel speed sensor there. You can see it locking up. These cars all have ABS, so that shouldn't be happening, and I'd assume from that huge whack, the front left wheel speed sensor's failed, and now no ABS, that car potentially going to retire.
Yeah, because it had a lock-up leaving the pits, another couple of lock-ups on this lap, and I suspect that Calamia is going to bring the car to the pit lane. You saw the back of Jean-Denis Delatrez there, who is making his championship debut, the 5th former Grand Prix racer into GT2. He shares with Stefan Rattel, as here the lead battle is a really punchy one, isn't it? Because Tomlinson sat on the back of Koffler, Koffler on the back of Caffer. To the pit lane as they come across the line is Calamia. So I think the pole-sitting Maserati may well be destined for retirement. The leaders go by, and Caffer to Koffler is now 0.418 of a second, and that is Mauro Calamity into the pit lane.
Yeah, 2 races in a row that car has not made it to the pit stop for the AM of Pampanini. We had the same thing at Valencia for that car DNFing in the first half of the race. So tough way to finish the season. And
a very grumpy Mauro Calamia, that is for sure, out of the car, out of the race. And it will be interesting to see a conversation if and when Neil Montserrat arrives later on.
You've done well. Sorry, Dave, you've done well. Whose fault was it?
Well, it is Mauro Calamia's fault because he's got a drive-through. Not that he can take it because he's out of the race, but Calamia is deemed as being the guilty party for causing a collision.
There you go, then. You managed to make your decision after you've given the answer.
Ours is not to reason why. But yeah, in a situation like that, as you called it at the time, it's really hard to work out whether the Maserati was going to make the corner or not. Anyway, the stewards have looked at it and decided that a drive-through is going to go, or would have gone, to Calamia for causing a collision, but the car is out of the race anyway, so it all becomes rather academic. Now, Neil Montserrat is a long, long way back. He is coming into turn 13 as the leaders are into turn 10. That's how far back he is. He's nearly a lap adrift.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough one without a safety car to get anything out of this race for them. Local team to here as well, so that'll be a shame. I'm sure they got lots of supporters in the grandstands and in pit lane as the fire-spitting GT2 Ginetta thunders through turn 13 into the final corner.
Yeah, that Maserati of Pampanini and Calamia, then the one retirement. It has been a winning car this year, but so is the Mercedes. One win in Valencia for Alberto Di Martin and Neil Montserrat in the second race, the equivalent race to this. But for the lead cars, keep an eye on Philippe Pret, because he did an absolute best first sector on that last lap, and the AM leader is not that far adrift in 4th place now. Freddie Tomlinson has done the fastest lap of the race, a 1:46.5. The fastest lap yesterday was Calamia's, a 1:46.1. So pace comparable, as you see there, the battle for 4th, where Philippe Pret is being hurried along now by Matto Homola, and now absolute bests in sectors are being posted by a very fired up Neil Montserrat. There's the Ginetta, that runs currently in 3rd place.
Yeah, what a scalp to have for Ginetta. First round ever for the GT2 car and having the fastest lap of the race. And we've spoken about the fire-breathing exhaust, and that's coming from the supercharged 6.3-litre V8. So I think this car will be popular, not just in Europe, but in the US as well. And Ginetta really growing their presence globally. And speaking with Lawrence Thomason yesterday, they have a car-making facility now in the US as well. So I think Ginetta are about to start a rather big wave of motorsport after a really strong domestic British series they've now built.
It would be great to see more of them on the road as well, wouldn't it? Because although Ginetta has been a massive success story through its motorsport activities, it would be really good to see 1 or 2 more on the road. You can get road-going G40s. There was the G60 sort of supercar that they had for a time, and 1 or 2 of those were road-going. But it would be great to see Ginetta as a brand on the roads, because that kind of gives their motorsport activity even more kudos, doesn't it?
Must be so. You could even drive a Ginetta wearing Ginetta clothing as well now. A clothing brand has been launched, and way too stylish for me, but really nice range that the Tomlinson family have started through the clothing brand. Back to the racing. Homola is the man on the move, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's pushing Pret into the top 3, and I wonder if Pret will keep the pace up. Currently the AM leader in this blue and orange Maserati.
The other mover in terms of pace is Neil Montserrat. He's done the fastest lap of the race now in that Mercedes AMG, but all he can do is push. He could ideally do as well with those leading cars getting together and holding each other up, but he has got 68 seconds to make up, 1 minute and 8 seconds behind. So, as we say, a safety car would really help him. And bearing in mind also that the Mercedes has to serve 10 seconds in the pits, he really is up against it here. This is for the lead then. Pierre Caffer, he will have to serve an extra 10 in the pits as the winner yesterday. Reinhard Koffler in second does not have to serve any extra time in the pits. Freddie Tomlinson has 7 seconds. So Koffler here is looking strong, but it all depends on the pace of his co-driver in the second stint.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big question. That car kind of didn't really feature much yesterday, did it? So it'll be interesting in the second stint how that 119 car gets on when they hand over to the AM driver of Marius Agnew.
Yeah, I don't think it was helped by that spin on the first lap, was it? And I think it took Aigner, who then had another off at turn 5, a little bit of time within his stint to really calm down and get his confidence back. When he did, the car was okay. There is Matto Homler, so the KTM that missed yesterday's race, the RTR Projects car, crawling all over the back of Philippe Pret, who could let him go if he so desired, because Pret here is leading his class, and it's a Pro-Am car behind, so different categories. But Pret, as the AM champion, now wants to try and race as competitively as he can overall.
Yeah, the graphic there showing the closing speed on the lap times, and the KTM very quick over a lap and then gets stuck behind the Maserati and can't do anything about it, and doesn't have the straight line performance in the battle between that KTM and the Maserati.
So the race leaders now work lap number 8, and the margin between Kaffer and Koffler is only 0.647 of a second. Neil Montserrat's charging along in last spot. This is Oliver Freimuth, who is in 8th. His opposition at the moment, Stefan Rattal, but the gap between Stefan and Oliver, between the Maserati and the Lamborghini, is very nearly 13 seconds. So Oliver Freimuth being a bit lonely at the moment. Unfortunately, he's been a winner in AM this year. He won the second race at Paul Ricard. He's dipped in and out of the championship, but has enjoyed his season nonetheless.
Yeah, driving solo as well. So him and Philippe Pret are 2 solo drivers, so doing the full race distance by themselves, which is an impressive feat. And Pierre Kaffer just seems to be in control, doesn't he, of the pace. Has just kept it here, and again the KTM will struggle to overtake in a straight line, so he will feel like he's being held up in the corners, Koffler, and then maybe a similar story for Tomlinson as well, as the balance of performance gets given to cars gradually. So the Ginetta in its first weekend will be on a conservative balance of performance while the series learn its strengths and weaknesses.
As they're turning through is Philippe Pret, Matto Homler tucked up behind, and this is again where you can see how the balance of performance works. You've got a car that's good through the corners, a car that's good on the straights, and they're able to run pretty much together for the entire lap. The Audi in the meantime, though, is not shaking off the other KTM, is it? Pierre Kaffer can't get away, and then Freddie Tomlinson third, can't yet find a way by. You'd think the big powerful Ginetta might be able to make short work of that KTM, but no, look, the gap stretches even as they come off turn 14 and put now 8 laps in the book. The lead gap 4:10, so actually the KTM closer to the leading Audi.
Yeah, and yeah, the Ginetta running 700 horsepower, the possible 800. So if it were needed more straight line speed, it could be given it next season. And obviously the GT2 Academy that starts next year for silver graded drivers, the Ginetta joining Mercedes and Maserati on that initiative. So that could be a very interesting car, as Homler is all over the back now of Philippe Pret.
So Philippe Pret, back-to-back AM champion, won it last year, won it this year, and currently running in 4th place. Matto Homler looking for a way past as the drone hovers there over the top of the circuit. You can see the nature of Barcelona as a racetrack. You can see how busy it is in the paddock, and a mistake made by Pret there, forcing him wide, coming out of turn 5. That now gives the opportunity on the inside into the kink at 6, possibly for Homler, but he hasn't got the grunt in a straight line to do it.
No, and interestingly, Pret deciding it's worth losing time defending to a car in a different class. He's worried about overall result, it would seem, and he'll be thinking, I can get an overall podium if I can keep this KTM behind me.
And Koffler having a go at Kaffer for the race lead then. Pierre Kaffer, number 88 in the Audi 119, is Reinhard Koffler, who might not have raced in GT2 prior to this weekend this year, but he's certainly not race rusty, is he? And he's all over the back of Pierre Kaffer, the former Audi factory driver. Nose to tail they run, coming off the corner. And Freddie Tomlinson now perhaps waiting for it to end in tears. All they need to do is just get themselves together and he can dive past. Yesterday's race was a bit fractious for the lead, and that's what helped one or two teams. Is it going to happen again? Well, here, of course, in theory, you've got the more professional drivers on board, the pros, the higher graded drivers. I say in theory, given what happened between Calamia and Montserrat at the first corner. But Pierre Kaffer, masses of experience, initially from single-seaters, from prototypes, from GT cars. He leads the way. Reinhard Koffler, another ex-single-seater gun, pulls out, has a look, and Kaffer again goes a little bit deep into turn 1 there.
Yeah, is he starting to struggle with tyres or brakes or both? But the KTM can smell blood and is starting to sniff even harder on the back of that Audi.
And Freddie Tomlinson is there as well, isn't he? Waiting to see what pans out ahead. So up towards turn 4 they go. This is where the Audi stretches the advantage. It's also where Tomlinson closes on the KTM, but under braking. Reinhard Koffler is able to brake later, gets close. A little bit of a twitch indeed from the KTM midway round the corner. Koffler on a mission. And you can expect these drivers as well to go long into their stint, can't you? A lot longer through the pit window than the AMs did in stint 1 yesterday. Look at the way, though, that Caffer, coming off the corner, stretches the margin, a bit like Philippe Pret's Maserati was doing against the KTM of Hommler on that previous lap through that section of the circuit.
Yeah, and it's amazing the ebb and flow, isn't it, of balance and performance. Getting these very different cars to do the same lap times naturally gives those strengths and weaknesses.
So Caffer leading Koffler, and Tomlinson now looking very toey to try to find a way up into second place, down towards turn 10. It is an overtaking opportunity, but Tomlinson's car twitching under braking, and he loses a little bit of momentum there as he gets into the corner. Freddie Tomlinson, who manages to use all of the power then to get right back onto the back of Koffler coming out the other side. But then we need to see what he can do coming out of turn 14 in a straight line. You'd anticipate the Ginetta to be able to make a move. Meanwhile, we've now got Hommler up past Pret for 4th place. So that change has happened while we're looking at this lead battle. And here they come up towards the line again.
Yeah, it's a very slow lap for Pret, so I wonder if he tried to defend and then Hommler still forced his way through, but Pret now needs to steady the ship to try and go over this overall podium position. You see in the background there. What can Hommler do? Yeah. 4.3 seconds behind Tomlinson. I think that gap's going to come down. I think Hommler's got some serious pace, and we haven't seen it for the last 5 laps because he's been tucked up behind the Maserati of Pret.
And his co-driver, Lennart Marianec, has got good pace as well. Don't forget, he was the fastest of the AM drivers yesterday in qualifying to get pole position. So Marianec, although he missed yesterday's race, ought to be able to keep this car in the mix. They don't have to worry about any extra compensation time in the pits. So although they started from the pit lane, the car now is becoming a bit more of a factor for a good result, I reckon, as Pierre Caffer heads down towards turn 5. Otto Blank will take over this car. Otto has raced in Porsches this year, having started his career in Ferrari Challenge, but new to the Audi. Did a good job yesterday, got stronger and stronger as his stint wore on. And there, Freddie Tomlinson in 3rd place. We're about 5 minutes away from the pit window opening, but as I say, these drivers will probably go deep into that 10-minute window before handing over.
Yeah, and the pits are going to be interesting with all the cars with penalties. It's like you were explaining earlier, David, with the guest entries getting a penalty, but then the cars finishing off the podium, taking out the guests, getting penalties. It means that we have a huge amount. 7 cars will have pit stop penalties. So once we get to the pit window, we'll tell you how many seconds each car is serving extra over the base, 146 seconds.
It's easier in a sense to talk about those that don't have to serve any extra time, and one of the significant ones is the Koffler KTM, and the other significant one is going to be the Matto Hommler KTM. So if Hommler gets into the mix against these, that's going to bring the car very much into the equation for the second stint. As you see there, Stefan Rattel on the back of Andre Rocoche now. So we've got the two of them running nose to tail. Rattel to the inside line into 13. Rocoche moves across and covers off the line. Good battle this to be second in AM. So Stefan Rattel crawling all over the back of the Mercedes AMG GT2, coming off turn 14. And up towards the timing line they come. Stefan Rattel, who will give way to Jean-Denis Delatraz. Andre Rocoche will give way to Petra Lisa. And they come over the timing line with a gap between them, 0.2 of a second. Yeah,
Rattel's pace has really transformed, doesn't it? He's reeled in the Mercedes of Rocoche, and the most difficult decision for Stefan Rattel is racing customers, isn't it? It's great that the series owner is in the series feeling the product, but you don't want to hit a customer. You don't want to obviously anger customers, so he's got to make sure that the move is done correctly. And this is down at turn 4, and we're talking about the Ginetta, how much power it gets out of that supercharged V8. Look at the set of 11s that Freddie Tomlinson is leaving there. That is beautiful in the synergy of the apex curvature, and his dad looking going, but I've got a race on those tyres. And yeah, Freddie enjoying his time around the Barcelona circuit.
And that was always what Stefan Rattel had in mind for that GT2 concept. Big, powerful cars, limited aero, so they are a challenge to drive, but rewarding to drive and slide around a little bit. Not totally aero dependent. These are seriously quick bits of kit, don't forget.
Yeah, really are. And they're like old school muscle cars, and I mean that in a positive way. And as a driver, that's what you want from a car. You want something moving around underneath you that's difficult, and it's changing lap after lap because there's so much energy involved. It's struggling to put it through the tyres, and I think it's a great concept. And budget-wise as well, sits in an important window in GT racing. Well, like I keep saying, we're in a golden age right now. GT3 grids have never been bigger, but the budgets are getting bigger. And I think GT2 fills a nice gap between GT3 and GT4 in every guise.
And there's the SRO GT Academy next year that Mercedes, AMG and Ginetta and Maserati have signed up to for the young drivers, the best of which will get a fully funded GT3 drive through Mercedes AMG the following season. So the SRO GT Academy will feature in GT2 next year, and it's well worth being involved in, as now Reinhard Koffler is involved in a big battle for the race lead all over the back there of Pierre Canfer. That Audi is struggling, isn't it? And now, as the window is about to open, Reinhard Koffler wants to lead the race when he pits. Pierre Canfer not being able to get away. It was a modest gap, but it was a gap, and now Canfer has had to go into defend mode.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a four-car battle as the pit window opens, as Stefan Rattel goes to the inside again and manages to back out of it. And at the moment, that Mercedes making himself very, very wide, isn't he? All the way around the track, just covering the inside and stopping Stefan Rattel getting the move done.
So through turn 5 they are, drop down the hill, and now accelerating through that kink at turn 6. The Maserati of Rattel has dropped back a little bit. Mara Kalatmir, I think I'm right in saying, has rejoined the race. The rebuilt Maserati, possibly the team have realised that there is second in the championship to think about, and the car has gone out of the pit lane. Now it's a long, long way back, and it's got that drive-through to serve. But number 7 Maserati, which we thought had been a retirement, has gone back on track. There's Freddie Tomlinson then, who's fallen back slightly from Reinhard Koffler as the leaders go by. Last time the gap was 9/10 of a second between Canfer and Koffler. This time it's 2/10 of a second between Canfer and Koffler as they head in towards turn 1. So it's still Audi ahead of KTM, and Reinhard Koffler goes to the inside. That wasn't a serious move. Tries to unsettle Pierre Canfer, who we have seen in the past go deep into the corner. And again, they come out of turn 1 and turn 2 absolutely nose to tail.
Yeah, this is incredible to call, and it just looks like the pace is going away from Canfer, doesn't it? The last lap was a 47.5. That is fully over a second slower than his fastest lap, so the tyre deg is coming in fast. Coming in fast is this KTM of Hommler. His pace has been metronomic. He's been at least 3 to 4 tenths quicker on the last laps, and there you can see the graphic between Hommler and Tomlinson, who is now making it 3 cars nose to tail, 1, 2 and 3.
Pit window is open then, but anticipate these drivers to go deep through that pit window to maximise the opportunity for their AM. Although Freddie Tomlinson calls his father an AM, that might not necessarily go down all that well in the Tomlinson household, but should we phrase it as the lower graded driver. Here, meanwhile, Andre Rocoche busy battling with Stefan Rattel, who's going to give way to Jean-Denis Delatraz, who, given his CV as a twice Le Mans class winner, is certainly not an AM, but one of the older drivers these days. Rattel crawling all over the back of that Mercedes AMG. Rocoche will give way to Petrolicia. They got third in class yesterday after a drive-through penalty, and the Audi of Stefan Rattel currently third in AM, but it's going to be interesting to put Delatraz up against Litter into the second stint of the race.
Yeah, it just feels like the Mercedes pace is going away from itself, and yeah, I just wonder, is it pressures that they can change in the pits, or is it the tyre life, and there's nothing you can do about that? But for sure, Rocoche here is relatively aggressive with the defence, and that's why they're starting to lose a lot of time, and that will really start to wind up Stefan Rattel, that he's now losing a chance of going after Philip Pret with this car.
So coming on the outside at turn 12, the Maserati twitching its way off the corner. Stefan goes to the inside, but Andre Rocoche able to close the gap, keep that line as they come now down towards the pits, and they come in together, nose to tail. So Andre Rocoche of Petrolisa, Stefan Rattel to give way to Jean-Denis Delatraz. Those are our first drivers to come in for their mandatory pit stop. And remember that the Maserati of Rattel has 7 extra seconds to serve, the Mercedes only 5 extra.
Yeah, so that should change the dynamic of that battle with those penalties. And there is Hommler running slightly deep into turn 5 that time, but has got the pace, and like you said yesterday, David, his teammate was rapid as well. So we've got 2 KTMs here in very good contention, I think, for a race win today.
And Oliver Freimuth's just pitted as Freddie Tomlinson hustles on. This car will serve an extra 7 seconds when it comes in. So down the pit lane, and teams are ready, in some cases with the fuel. That's the car that Stefan Rattel gets out of, the LP Racing Maserati. Stefan encouraged out of the way so that the refueling can take place and Jean-Denis Delatraz can get on board. So this is Pierre Caffer still leading the way. Stretched the margin a bit, it's gone up from 2/10 to half a second, and actually looks to be greater again, doesn't it, on this lap? So Pierre Caffer rebuilding the gap here before the pit window.
Yeah, has steadied the ship. Maybe following in the dirty air for a few laps has hurt Koffler and Tomlinson potentially, and that's letting Caffer now start to get a more comfortable gap. It's not a big gap, is it? But it's the biggest it's been in the last 3 to 4 laps.
So down they go into turn 1, but Matto Homola is now lapping certainly quicker than Tomlinson ahead. He's not quite as quick as Koffler and Caffer, but he's almost with that leading group as they come out of turn 3. That long uphill right that loops you round, short straight up towards turn 4. And so now we're on to lap number 16. We're not quite at the halfway point of the race, but as we've been talking about, the pit window is open, and out of AM, Rokos, Rattel and Freimut are all serving the pit stops. In the case of Oliver Freimut, he will rejoin the race. Jean-Denis Delatraz there takes over from Stefan Rattel. Petra Lisa will take over from Andre Rokos there, nearest the camera in the red and black Mercedes AMG. So pit lane getting a bit busier now.
Yeah, and you can see the car controllers there just checking the pit lane timer to make sure they know when to release those cars. We saw a few cars go under the time yesterday and use the Joker, which allows them to be 1 second under that 1:46 base time, plus any minimum pit stop penalty adjustment.
And concern around the front right corner now of the Maserati. And is that a stuck wheel nut? Because nothing is happening, and there's concern, and this is going to badly delay that car. So into the race goes the Mercedes AMG, but look, there's a drama around that front right wheel. They can't get the nut released, they can't take the wheel off, and this is a really, really time-consuming drama for the Rattel Delatraz Maserati as the leaders do another lap then, pushing on. Right, the wheel is off, but there's obviously concern other than just the wheel itself, maybe the feel of the front right of the car. So it's a long stop, sadly, this for Jean-Denis Delatraz now.
Yeah, that's really ruled them out, hasn't it? That'll be frustrating for the LP Racing team. Tyre back on, they'll drop the car off the air jacks, and then it's good to be released, but it looks like it's going to be at least 35, 40 seconds loss, I think, in the pits.
Yeah, they were going to lose 10 anyway because of the time from yesterday's result. Sorry, 7 extra seconds because of yesterday's result. But then now that car losing, as you've seen, a colossal amount of time, and back into the race it will go. So Pierre Caffer still leads the way, but only just. Reinhard Koffler has brought the gap down again. It's all very elasticated, this. It was 0.7 of a second at the start of the lap. And again, Koffler is able to get that little bit closer as the cars now work their way down towards turn 6 through the kink. Through turns, Freddie Tomlinson then. Neil Montserrat has got himself up into 6th place now, but that's kind of helped in part really by those AMs making their regulation pit stop. So it's a slightly false 6th place, and he still hasn't really been able to do that much about getting up with the race leaders. He's brought the gap down fractionally, but the safety car that he needs has never come, and is looking unlikely so to do. Pierre Caffer in the meantime now has a little bit of traffic. Now this might just affect the decision as to when to pit. Does he want to sit in the traffic and have to wriggle away through, or is he going to bail? It's Oliver Freimut up the road ahead of him who's made his pit stop. Neil Montserrat is coming into the pits in the delayed Mercedes. Big slide by Caffer, but he's going to do another lap. So is Koffler, so is Tomlinson.
Trying to squeeze as many laps out as possible. As you can see, drivers warming themselves up, ready to go into battle, as we are going to have to pit at the end of this lap. Too tight to squeeze 2 more, and now the car's making their way past the Lamborghini of Freimut, who does a good job to stay out of the way.
He does indeed, and Koffler gets closer again. He's really good on the brakes into that corner, and Caffer seems to struggle with turn 1. So that's where the KTM has the advantage. This is Matto Homola coming into the pit lane. No extra time to serve, only the 164 seconds of the regulation. So in he comes, as now the lead gap has come down, and Tomlinson all of a sudden has fallen off the back. Now, is that because he was delayed in traffic? The Ginetta has certainly fallen back. No, Tomlinson had dropped back anyway, coming over the line, hadn't he? He was already a second adrift of Koffler before they had to get past Freimut. So there's something not quite right all of a sudden for the Ginetta. A big chunk of time lost.
Yeah, we saw something similar, didn't we, in yesterday's race at the end of the stint for Tomlinson. Maybe it is those tyres going off slightly once more for the Ginetta. And we've seen it laying rubber down at 4, so the energy's got to go somewhere, and at the moment it's lying on the circuit, not on the tyre.
So the Ginetta still third. It's been an impressive debut, and all of this, of course, bringing back data to make the car even better for the customers, which hopefully will come on board for next year. Philippe Pret's Maserati is in. That's Lennart Marionet's rushing around the KTM to jump on board the car that was in 4th place. In the background, Alberto Di Martin is ready to go in number 115 Mercedes AMG. And going to be new tyres as well for Matto Homola, try and get a bit more pace in the second stint. It's interesting that they've decided that they do need new tyres rather than nursing a set. A lot of push offered up early on by Homola. To the pit lane comes Koffler then to put Marius Eigner into the car now. So that gives a free ride to Kaffer because Tomlinson is in as well. So Pierre Kaffer has probably got time for just one more lap. Koffler is in, Tomlinson Jr. is in as well.
Yeah, race in pit road. We've seen a problem for the Maserati already in the pits. Here's the KTM with its quirky opening hatch effectively to let the driver get in and out. And you can see the hinge mechanism working nice and smoothly, closing the lid. And now the 119 needs to open its lid.
Up it goes, forward it goes, and Koffler wriggles through the cage, gets out, and then everybody walks away while the refueling takes place.
I like the mechanics forcefully moving these drivers out the way. We saw it with the boss, Stefan Rattel, and then the same as well for the KTM driver, getting hustled out the way to make sure the team can get to work fueling without getting a penalty.
As into the race goes Lennart Marionetsch. That's the first racing lap that he has started this weekend because the car never got into yesterday's race and he should have been the start driver. Meanwhile, over at CMR, in gets the governor, Lawrence Tomlinson, the boss of Ginetta. There is Marius Eigner's car now for the third part of its pit stop, if you like. Part 1 is get Koffler out, part 2 is the fuel, and part 3 is the incoming driver. Pierre Kaffer on his way to a pit stop. Philippe Pret back into the race to see what he can do about taking an 8th win of the season in Au. And there the Tomlinson Ginetta is getting ready to go. Marius Eigner is getting ready to go as he is strapped in. Not the easiest cars to get in and out of the KTMs, but Eigner has slotted himself between the cage, and there's still some concern around that, isn't there, because they've not closed the bodywork. Kaffer pits then out of the race lead.
Yeah, so he managed to squeeze that extra lap in. It was tight, wasn't it? He's got to be in the next 8 seconds, and he will be safe. Wow, it's going to be 2 or 3 seconds as he crosses the line now. 3 seconds. They pushed the boat out on that one, and hopefully the strategy will pay dividends for them.
Yeah, Otto Blank versus Marius Eigner. That car does not have to serve any extra compensation time. So now they're just waiting for the end of the pit stop. They'll have worked out when to release the car because they'll know what the drive time is. And in comes Pierre Kaffer. See whether that car takes tyres as well. The only one I think we've seen taking rubber is the Lennart Marionetsch KTM. Track limits now for everybody have been reset, so these incoming drivers can push on.
Yep, and perfect pit stop from the 119 there, 2 minutes 26.5. The 0.5 is the safety margin, so they've done well with that one. And you can see how much time the Maserati lost that Stefan Rattel started, and now Dalatraz is aboard. And there's the Ginetta leaving the pit lane, and now the KTM has leapfrogged that in the pits.
Meanwhile, the Ginetta goes then back on track, and from the race lead car, Otto Blank gets in. Pierre Kaffer has done his work for the moment. The tyre pressures are checked. The cameraman getting ever so busy around the side of the car there. It gives the added urgency of the pit stop, doesn't it? But you've got to be quick and controlled. Marius Eigner then on his outlap, feeling his way back into the car and trying to get his confidence there so he can push. Yesterday on the opening lap of the race, he spun off at turn 2, so needing just to be happy in the car before he really pushes on.
Yeah, and I know I'm always on the driver committee, but that's the first lap he's done of the day. I can't think of another sport where you're straight into battle without any warm-up whatsoever. Would have had a strong coffee this morning, and then you're straight into the middle of a race.
Oh, I can hear a violin playing somewhere, yeah. You should be the union rep. You're doing such a good job with this. There is Marius Eigner then, who will have got a bit of information out of his co-driver as to what the car feels like, what the track is like. And Marius Eigner there, the little twitch heads up towards turn 12. Otto Blank is ready to go as the LP Racing team study the time of the car being stationary, and on instruction away will go Blank. But this is the car he's going to be fighting against. Remember, Otto Blank, he's having to serve an extra 10 seconds in the pits. That KTM, no extra time. So if this has been a decent outlet by Eigner. It will push that car into the lead. Up towards the line it comes. Away goes Blank, but he's not yet up to full pace, of course. He's got to drive all the way down the pit lane. So look for the KTM on track. There it comes now. Into the lead goes Marius Eigner. And what about for second place? That is going to be Lennart Marianec. And then for third, it's going to be Otto Blank versus there. Look, coming towards us, the Ginetta, Lawrence Tomlinson round the outside. So that's going to put Blank fourth now after that stop.
Yeah, the 10 seconds extra for their win yesterday really hurting that car, of course. So it's now what can Blank do? Eyes forward. Here's his targets. 2 KTMs, a Ginetta. What can he do? Can he get himself an overall podium position?
It's going to take Marius Eigner another lap or so to get fully up to speed. Of these drivers then in that leading group, you would argue perhaps that Marianec and Tomlinson are the 2 guns. That's certainly the more experienced. So it shouldn't take Marianec long to get up to pace. It shouldn't take Lawrence Tomlinson much time to get up to pace as well. So there is Marius Eigner. And behind him, Lennart Marianec. The gap at the start of the lap was 4.4 seconds. It looks less than that now, doesn't it? So as they come out of the first sector, Marianec has taken 9/10 out of that margin. It's going to be a good battle, this, between the KTMs, but Marianec needs to get on and build an advantage as best he can over Lawrence Tomlinson. Freddie Tomlinson watching on from the garage. There's his dad in the background there. Lawrence dips in and out of racing activities these days. Freddie has been busy in the Long Cup, but up front, Marius Eigner is being reeled in, isn't he now, by Lennart Marianec? Yeah,
the pace of the 89 KTM, much stronger than the 119, which is running wide, getting past the very slow Delatraz.
Yeah, he's got a problem, hasn't he? So whatever that concern was with that right front corner, I rather fear has struck again. Odd, though, because Stefan Rattelstein looked fine.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. Boxed the car, and we saw the battle with Rokos, but no contact. Here's the battle for the lead as they cross the start-finish line.
To the inside line will go Lennart Marianec then as he lines up to have a go at Marius Eigner. The 2 KTMs go toe-to-toe, and from the back of the grid after that pit lane start into the lead of the race now goes Lennart Marianec. So the KTM goes through to take the advantage. We've not had an outright win this year by a KTM. The type of car that took the Pro-Am title last year for Reinhard Koffler and Martin Koch. But now it is Lennart Marianec into the lead of the race, and straight away he's gapping Marius Eigner, the much less experienced driver, in second place. Eigner, in turn, is 7 seconds up the road over Lawrence Tomlinson.
Could we potentially see both races here at Barcelona? One from the car that started in last place in both races. It was the Audi yesterday, started effectively in 10th, which was 9th on the road. That car that's leading the race started in pit lane, at least let's forget, and they're back to work again on that front right corner. And at the moment, looks like just a simple tyre change. No mechanic looking underneath. Looks like it's where the wishbone is connecting to the wheel hub, and there's something loose there. You can see he's able to turn it with his fingers, and even my mechanical knowledge knows that that should be torqued up higher than your index finger and thumb can do.
So Lawrence Tomlinson in the meantime now pressing on in pursuit of Marius Eigner. Eigner's last lap was a 51.7. Tomlinson's was a 50.9. In other words, the Ginetta is quicker. And then you've got Otto Blank behind. We've not yet seen a flying lap out of Otto. He's on his first proper flying lap. The previous one was from the standing start in the pit. So now we'll get an indication of his pace. So don't forget, Blank, for his qualifying session, was the slowest, but he was the winner of yesterday's race, and that would have done his confidence a lot of good. Lawrence Tomlinson here in the left-hand drive Ginetta, the G56 GT2, comes out of turn 13, drops down to the end of the lap. There are the leading KTMs. Lennart Marianec goes by, and he is clear of Marius Eigner already by 4 seconds. Eigner's lap of 51.5. Lawrence Tomlinson will break the beam in third, and he is 1 second quicker and has got to make up 6.5 seconds. And then Blank behind, not as quick as Tomlinson, but quicker than Eigner. So a podium beckons perhaps for the Audi.
Yeah, Eigner is going to have to pick the pace up if he wants to keep that KTM on a podium position, isn't he? At the moment, it's struggling. We've seen the car looking nervous. This Ginetta, quite the opposite, looks properly planted. Front and rear axle grip seems very well balanced, and that's allowing Lawrence now just to chuck the car in. You can see it's squirreling under brakes, the ABS kicking in, and I love the sleek nature of that Ginetta. And somehow the front bumper reminds me of a Porsche, which I don't understand how that could happen with the engine placement of those two cars, but I just catch it and I can see a bit of Porsche on the leading edge of that car. Disagreed? Good.
I shall wait and see whether my eyes do the same as yours. The Maserati, in the meantime, here of Philippe Pret, is now comfortably ahead in Am, even allowing for that longer pit stop, because Philippe Pret's still nearly 13 seconds up the road from Petrolicia and has had such a good season, hasn't he? Philippe Pret has been able to mix it for overall race wins as well as dominate the class, and 2 Am titles back-to-back going his way, and he's looking to round out the season in style with yet another victory.
Yeah, and if he hadn't have had his success penalty of 14 seconds, he would be right in a battle with Blanc, wouldn't he? And again, that could be an overall podium position, but is a victim of his own success.
There is 115. Alberto Di Martin. Contact early on has delayed that car. It's 8th now, and we know that Alberto Di Martin is not as quick as Neil Montserrat, so its pace will be different. Jean-Denis Delatraz, by the way, still stuck in the pit lane, as there Montserrat, Alberto Di Martin comes down through turn 10, and he's a lap down as well on the car of Petrolicia that's been able to go past. Alberto Di Martin does not look happy in that car.
No, it doesn't look like everything's okay. It was a big hit. There would probably be some tracking issues, so the steering wheel probably with a bit of right hand down. Normally the suspension gets bent the way the steering was turned during the contact, and it was right hand down for Montserrat at turn 1, wasn't it? So yeah, like when you pick up a ropey hire car and you're bombing down the freeway and you're not quite sure which barrier you're going to hit. I think that is what's happening to that NM Racing Mercedes right now.
Philippe Pret there has picked up his pace a little bit, because he was slow a couple of laps back. Compare and contrast his lap times against Petrolica, but have a look. He's gone from a 48 to a slow 151 and then a 49. But last time, Petrolica only a 10th quicker than Philippe Pret. So that's another ship steadied by the look of it for the Monaco-based Philippe Pret.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to know what Philippe Pret's thinking. Like, is he pushing as hard as he can, or is he just monitoring his pace, enjoying his Sunday morning? And he's just been dominant of the Am Championship. I wonder if he's thinking about next season. Do I link up with a pro to go to the Pro-Am category to try something else, or does he just love being a one-man band?
Well, there's an argument to say, get your son involved and share the car. Even better, can we have Stefan Ortelli as his co-driver? Le Mans winner and Blancpain Endurance Series champion and Porsche Super Cup champion and you name it winner. Stefan Ortelli, big friends of the Pret family, omnipresent in the garages, looking after both Philippe Pret and his son Louis Pret's racing. So it'd be great to have Stefan Ortelli back on track. As over the line has gone Lennart Marianec as the race leader. He's now 12.5 seconds up the road. Aigner to Tomlinson, 5 seconds. Lawrence is closing, no argument about it, but Aigner also is starting to up his pace a little.
Yeah, Blanc's pace has gone the other way on the last 2 laps. He's not managed to keep the pace up of this Ginetta. The first 5 centimetres is the bit I think that looks like a Porsche, by the way. And Tomlinson's pace, metronomic at the moment. And Lawrence obviously getting older every year like all of us, but staying super fit, and that's showing right now. He's able to pump in some very competitive lap times.
Going up through turn 4. Yeah, Otto Blanc's last lap was a 51.6, so falling away. He's being caught by Philippe Pret. The gap between Blanc and Pret is now 9.6 seconds, so Philippe Pret might be able to get 4th overall. I was thinking that the Audi might be able to go for a podium, but not if Blanc's going to be yo-yoing in terms of lap time, some good, some bad. Tomlinson, meanwhile, has got 14 minutes in which to catch Marius Aigner. Goes a little bit deep there into 7, avoids the yellow banana curve and powers his way up the hill. This is the car that's second there. This is the one he's chasing. This is Marius Aigner. There is Lawrence Tomlinson in the background. He took 4/10ths out of the KTM in the first sector alone, as up the road, repaying all the hard work of the team, Lennart Marianec, having taken over from Mathieu Hommler, looking good for the race win here.
Yeah, it was a very average sector 2 though from Lawrence. He actually lost more than he gained in sector 1, so the gap gone back up to 5.3. The 89 car, they'll just be praying that the fix that they had to repair is going to last the final 13.5 minutes of this final race of the GT2 European Series.
And a weekend with 2 different winners and 2 first-time winners as well. Otto Blanc and Pierre Caffer having their first victories of the season, and the same true of potentially for this race, Lennart Marianec and Mathieu Hommler, and of course first wins of the year for an Audi and for a KTM if things stay as they are. There is a rather nervous now looking Freddie Tomlinson, seeing how Dad's getting on. That last lap from Dad was actually slower than Aigner by a couple of tenths of a second. So how much of that is the Ginetta starting to struggle? How much of it, I wonder, is Aigner upping his pace?
Yeah, Aigner getting his eye in, and yeah, we saw that Ginetta struggling tyre-wise with Freddie in the opening stint, I think, and also in the finishing stint in yesterday's race. So maybe that's something Ginetta will look at over the winter potentially before they attack the next season of GT2.
There's the Ginetta then coming off turn 4, and Lawrence Tomlinson heads towards the downhill left-hander of 5, where we had Aigner running up wide and off through the gravel yesterday early in the race, but the Ginetta continues on its way here. 1 or 2 more track limit warnings are coming, and Petrolicia now is on 4. So bear in mind, they're all reset as the pit window closes. That means Petrolicia has rocked up 4 track limit warnings in this pretty short stint that he's so far undertaken.
Yeah, he'll need to be careful of that. The battle here coming back down to 4.5. Here's sector 2. They're sector 2 times this lap. Gone to Lawrence, only a 10th quicker, but last lap he lost 6 tenths in sector 2, so the gap continues to fall.
The race leader is about to come across the timing line once more, as there is Alberto Di Martin, badly delayed, of course, earlier on, and that car still not really looking comfortable. Neil Montserrat was able to drag the fastest lap of the race out of it. It may have been tweaked a little bit in the contact, but certainly Alberto Di Martin here looks to be driving ever so cautiously, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does, and either a problem the car he's having to drive around, or he's just risk versus reward, and at the moment, unfortunately, there's very little on reward for this 115 car.
Yeah, it's on target to be 5th in class. The only benefit, in a sense, for keeping going is that it is going to get some points, whereas the Calamia Pampanini Maserati that they're fighting for 2nd in Pro-Am is not. Here, in the meantime, Otto Blank, look, has been reeled in by Philippe Pret. So that last lap for Blank was a really slow one, a 1:53. So his lap times, yeah, are going slower. Is that because the tyres are deteriorating? Philippe Pret certainly is pushing on very nicely, but this is about to change on the road, isn't it, for 4th place, Otto Blank versus Philippe Pret, who lines up to have a go on the inside into turn 4. Lots of room is afforded to him, and Philippe Pret goes by, makes that look easy.
Really nice move, and can he keep this pace up? Is Aigner or Tomlinson going to fade away? He's got 13 seconds to find, so it's going to be a big ask for the number 1 Maserati going in deep there. Gets a nice late apex, so one of those corners that if you do make a mistake on the way in, there is a gain at least on the exit with the opening up of the corner and a higher exit speed. So
Pret pushes on, getting away again from Petrolicia, and also now with this extra car between him and his class opposition. Even if he were to be caught, Licia would still have to find a way past Otto Blank. And now that he's falling away from the class opposition and he's lost a place to Philippe Pret, confidence might be being a bit dented inside that Audi. So Otto Blank needs to regroup, comes down into turn 10 now as the Audi swings through the corner. Pret up towards 12. Meanwhile, we've got 10 more minutes of the season to go, and the clock ticks on down for the leading Lennart Marionech, who we've seen racing in the past, not only in GT2 but in the ADAC GT Masters, for example. As far as Pro-Am is concerned, right now Montserrat and Di Martin will take the runners-up spot in the championship behind the champions Formanek and Rossina, so it's worth persevering for Alberto Di Martin. Bring the car home, get the points with Calamia and Pampanini officially now retired. They are out of the race, so 2nd in the title race beckons for Alberto Di Martin if he can just bring the car home.
Yeah, that championship battle between the Mercedes and the Maserati has been fierce on track. Both races this weekend, contact between the 2 cars, and the Maserati are judged to be at fault both times. In race 1, Pampanini going in the back of this Mercedes, and this morning the side-to-side contact between the Mercedes, which closed the door on the Maserati, but the Maserati are judged to be at fault, I assume, for going in too deep to turn 1, lap 1.
Alberto Di Martin then brings the car now up towards turn 12, powering his way up the other side. So the Mercedes AMG GT2 comes out of the penultimate corner of, for him, lap 25. And there is the battle for 2nd place. Marius Aigner still being caught. The gap was 3 seconds at the start of this lap. And of course, the closer Tomlinson gets to the KTM, the more it inspires him. He gets more committed, pushes on that a little bit more, brakes a fraction later, and just chips away even further at trying to get onto the back of the MZR Motorsport Centrum Reed Run KTM. Marius Aigner looking for a podium here, but Tomlinson looking to try to take second place and equal what the car did yesterday.
Yeah, and again, the graphic showing you the rate of catch. If you take all of their laps of the stint, Lawrence on average 7/10 a lap quicker than Aigner in front. And at the moment, the flow is growing quicker than that. The last 2 laps have been nearly a second faster. Gap now 2.6 seconds. There's definitely time in this race for Lawrence to claim second place from the KTM. Indeed
So the clock now has 7 minutes and 20 seconds as of now still to go. So through turns, Lawrence Tomlinson out of turn 3, that climb up the hill. Marius Aigner is ahead of him, and with the drivers then now working their way through lap 28, Lennart Marianec looking ever so secure in the lead. He's been able to not only catch and pass Aigner here, but now has an advantage of very nearly 24 seconds. That is impressive. And as Joe made the point earlier on, the car did have to start from the pit lane. When we went green, it was at the back of the queue, but it officially started the race from the pits. So from last to first, just as Otto Blank and Pierre Caffer did yesterday. And drama for Oliver Freimuth, who has slowed right down. He was in the gravel on the last lap yesterday, and the Lamborghini has hit problems here with 6.5 minutes to go.
Doing a good job at finding a gap in the barrier there, Oliver Freimuth. It seems to have lost drive, doesn't it? Still got electrical power, although he now decides I can get going. So maybe he's found a bit of drive, and he's well out the way anyway there on the inside of turn number 10. And yeah, seemingly like in a full limp mode, isn't it? That's doing 10-15 kilometers an hour. If he does rejoin there, that could be slightly sketchy, as Philip Pret is going to come around the corner at any moment.
Indeed so. So Oliver Freimuth limps on. He has rejoined. There was a marshal frantically running after him, trying to get him to stop, but Freimuth, I think, wants to limp back to the pit lane, and by shortcutting turn 10, he got out of anybody's way on the inside of the corner. He's on the outside as he limps up towards turn 12. This is Philippe Pret, who was able to get by, and Pret for 4th place, chasing after Lawrence Tomlinson, who in turn is now 2.4 seconds back from Marius Aigner.
Yeah, the battle rages on, and Lawrence will be hyper-focused to try and get another second place for this Ginetta on its debut weekend, and I think that will be a job well done back at base in Garforth, just outside Leeds in Yorkshire, England, and they would be very happy if that, and even if they stay in 3rd, 2 podium positions on a debut weekend is a very good opening.
And hopefully there'll be lots of customers thinking, okay, so that's the car I want for GT2 next year. And Ginetta also joining that SRO GT Academy project to try and encourage young drivers into the series. Initially, GT2 targeted the AM, the gentleman racer, the businessman racer, but it's proved over the course of its time to attract in the occasional young driver. Carlo Tamburini, for example, last year was one such who was able to go so well out of Italian sprint GT racing. So young drivers have been attracted to it. Alberto Di Martin gets out of the way of Marius Aigner. Freddie Tomlinson, the next, if you like, of what you might call a career racing driver, having raced in the Le Mans Cup this year and coming back to race GT cars. There's Otto Blank. Now he is being reeled in by Petrolicia. He's now only 3.8 seconds ahead. So Otto Blank here, one fears, is going to lose another place before the end. And that perhaps illustrates yesterday how much work was done by Pierre Caffer in the second stint, but also how much of it was done with the compensation times in the pits and penalties for others.
Yeah, Blank seemed to be drawing a blank on pace, doesn't he, today? It's not worked out for him after a mega result yesterday for Caffer, but Blank as well, I think, did a really good job after an average qualifying by his own admission. His opening stint I was very impressed with, and we've seen Otto Blank in Ferrari Challenge, haven't we? But coming to GT2, that's a good step up for him, and again, a consideration for next season. We've had 23 different entries this season in GT2, and I know you've said it, David, but if we could get them all together at the same time, this would be a very strong series and a great spectacle.
Yeah, lots of people dip in and out and have a look, but it's getting them all to commit at once that's the real task. Otto Blank then, who's been most recently racing in Porsches, comes down into turn 1, and Petrolicia is closing up all the time, 3 minutes and change on the clock. So this is going to resolve itself in favour of Licia before the end, I would suggest. 5th place they're fighting for. Yeah,
Petrolicia's pace has been really strong as a stint average. He's been the 2nd fastest car on track in this second half, and Rokosh seemed to struggle, didn't he, and was holding up Stefan Rattel, but now Licia has unleashed the pace of that Mercedes.
Nose to tail out of turn 4 then. So Pirelli, who was in third in class yesterday, delayed with a drive-through penalty, is not going to improve on second in class now, but it's going to improve on sixth overall, potentially, giving a hard time to Otto Blank as the cars accelerate now down through the approach to 7. Oliver Freimuth, by the way, has limped into the pit lane, and there his season will end. One fears, as the clock now has 2.5 minutes on it.
Yeah, and, hopefully they keep the move clean, and I'm sure Pirelli understands that he doesn't need to make this move in terms of a class, and will make sure it's there, flashing of the headlights, just trying to catch the eye of Otto Blank in front.
Coming up now then from turn 10, Otto Blank going wider. Pirelli, the more experienced driver in GT2 terms, new to the championship this year, but has had a good season, been really competitive across the course of the year. Got a third at Paul Ricard in the first weekend, had a third at Zandvoort in the second weekend, and had a class win at Spa when he was aboard the KTM with Victor Mirage. Again, Lisa on the lights, comes up towards the line and looks for the inside line down towards turn 1. He's just going to breeze by, isn't he, as the cars go through then. Pirelli goes through up into 5th position, and Otto Blank falls back 1 spot. Doesn't affect his class result, but he will fall from 5th to 6th overall. Pirelli advances 1.
Yeah, really good job from Pirelli there. And Otto Blank's Audi looks loose, or it leaves some rubber down as he was on the throttle coming out of turn 10 the previous lap, but it just seems like the tyres falling away from these cars, and that's going to be the story of the day. And Aigner looked like he didn't have much pace exiting turn 7 and 8 there, and that's given Tomlinson a bit more of a sniff of this, as the next lap will be their last.
So this for second and third places, Marius Aigner versus Lawrence Tomlinson. The clock has got 1 minute on it, and the race lead car then has just gone over the timing line. That puts 31 laps in the book from Lennart Marianecki. He's on his last lap. There he is. So from the pit lane start to a race win, potentially. The car's been quick, but has had its reliability woes over the course of the season. But for Matto Hommela then, former European touring car star, he watches on from the pit wall. It'd be great to see Matto Hommela in GT3 machinery as well, wouldn't it, in the future? But for second place, Marius Aigner has got to try to hang on in there for 1 more lap. Tomlinson has not yet caught him. Aigner here has got to drive the lap of his life, hasn't he, as the cars go through. The margin was 1.6 seconds. The margin is 1 second. Is that enough? We'll find out. Pret 4th in the background.
All on Lawrence, driving your own car that you're sharing with your son. You can see the car working hard under brakes. Lawrence giving everything he's got and more to try and get this second place. Where could the move happen? Turn 10 is a hot spot for overtaking. It's a big break there, so that's later on in the lap. At the moment, Lawrence just needs to get this gap down. They'll come through sector 1. We'll get an update on the gap, but to me it's 7 tenths, maybe even less now. Yes, 6.93. I said 7, slightly less. That wasn't a bad guess.
Yeah, we could all see that coming. So it is for second place, Aigner versus Tomlinson. And now the question is going to really focus on whether Aigner gets rattled by that Ginetta or is just going to be able to defend. It's not that easy to find a way past. We've seen that, given the way that the BOP works. Perhaps the catching part is the easier, but Tomlinson, with his many more years of racecraft, might be able to force an error out of Aigner, as here. Lennart Marianecki is on target for a race win. It's going to be a first outright win of the season for a KTM. The first win in GT2 for Lennart Marianecki, and for Matto Hommela this year. They come out of turn 14, checkered flag at the ready, missed yesterday's race, started this from the pits and come through to win. Lennart Marianecki and Matto Hommela win the final GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli race of the year. But for second, another KTM or a Ginetta?
The gap comes down ever so slightly. They've gone through 10 already. 2 more corners. Now the opportunity is a slipstream to the line, or is it going to be there because Aigner runs wide?
Up the inside goes Tomlinson. This is into turn 13. Aigner swoops across, takes the line for the corner, just about hangs on to it. 1 corner to go, and then it's going to be a drag race to the line. Marius Aigner has driven the lap of his life because he's managed to hang on to second place. It is a KTM 1-2. It's Ginetta third. Marius Aigner hangs on for second. Third goes to Lawrence Tomlinson with Sanfredi. And a KTM 1-2 to round out the season. As in the background, Philippe Pret comes through for class win number 8 of the season. And what a season it has been for him.
Yeah, his pace was phenomenal, wasn't he? Really closing on that battle. And I thought Aigner had left the door open. Thompson went to the inside, then Aigner swept across aggressively but fairly to close the door and keep second place.
Behind Philippe Pret, Petrolicia takes 5th, and 6th in the background there is going to be Otto Blank, yesterday's winner, with Alberto Di Martin 7th to round out the finishers. We lost Freimut, we lost Delatraz / Rattel, and we lost Calamia and Pampanini. But well done to Lennart Marianic. That certainly makes all that hard work overnight worthwhile for the team.
It really does, and I can't think of many race weekends or series where the last car in both races has won the race. So it shows you how hard both of those cars have pushed. The KTM today and the Audi yesterday.
There is Mathieu Hommler then on the left as you look, and Andre Rokosh going to have a word to congratulate him. So excellent result for the team, and let us hope that with the efforts being put in to boost GT2, next year's grids are going to be even bigger and even more competitive racing. So Lennart Marianic brings the KTM to the pit lane. Let's have a look at the result of our final GT2 European Series race of the season. A win for Lennart Marianic and Mathieu Hommler from Marius Eigner and Reinhard Koffler. The two Austrians taking 2nd ahead of Lawrence and Freddie Tomlinson. Philippe Pret 4th on his own to win AM ahead of Petrolicia and Andre Rokosh. Otto Blank and Pierre Caffer 6th ahead of Alberto Di Martin and Neil Montserrat, delayed early on. We lost Oliver Freimut, we lost Jean-Denis Delatraz and Stefan Rattel, and we also lost Roberto Pampanini and Mauro Calamia. Class winners then, Marianic and Hommler and Philippe Pret. A first one of the year for the KTM drivers, an 8th of the year to the AM champion, Philippe Pret. So the KTM remains a competitive car, and it will have opposition next year from, as we now see, Ginetta, with hopefully more of those cars on the grids. Into the Parc Ferme area now comes Marius Eigner, sharing with Reinhard Koffler. Last year's Pro-Am champion Reinhard Koffler. Good to have him back in the series as Lennart Marianic then opens the hatch, threads himself between the bodywork and the roll cage, slides out of the car, and Lawrence Tomlinson arrives in the Ginetta. Park here, says Lenny Marianic. It's fine, park here, I don't mind. And he will await his co-driver. In the end, an easy stint, but the hard yards really had to be done by Hommler from the back of the field after that pit lane start. Yeah, and worked really well. Pace was strong, got past Philippe Pret and then got going. And really nice podium to finish the year. Almost the underdog podium, the KTM and the very new Ginetta. That's right. So Marius Eigner for 2nd place with Reinhard Koffler. Philippe Pret taking another win. Andre Rokosh wanders up the pit lane with the rest of the RTR Projects team to celebrate another podium result for that Mercedes. And Lennart Marianic now has got some company because Mathieu Hommler has arrived to congratulate him. There they are, your race winners. Lenny Marianic then with Mathieu Hommler. Great results, and I think Alex is also going to join the celebrations, and we'll be able to hear from our race winners. They are Lennart Marianic and Mathieu Hommler. The KTM started from the pits, comes through to win by 35.7 seconds. Alex Legui is with our winners.
Well, wow, what a way to finish your year, boys. From the pit lane to the top step. Mathieu, that first stint.
Yeah, first of all, I need to say a huge thanks to the team because yesterday we had a big problem, as you could see, with the electricity of the car. We didn't run. Guys were working till 3 a.m. There was some problems still, so because of that we started from the pit lane. And yeah, I think this is the this win we want to dedicate to the team because we were struggling throughout the whole year with a lot of problems like the BOP, like the technical issues or the crashes, and we wanted some win. So it's the end of the year, and yeah, we need to thank to our team owner Thomas Miniberger, our managers team, Carolina, Thomas, and all the mechanics and all the stuff in Czech Republic, because yeah, we are a small team and we can compete with the big guys. So yeah, we are really proud.
Well done. Feels like Mathieu said it all, but congratulations. That was a great stint.
Yeah, thank you. I was cruising more or less because he did all the work, and the car was just great to drive, and I'm very thankful for the team that they made such a big effort to get the car back on track, and it was perfect today.
Good job, boys. Well done.
So a pit lane start, but a race win for very happy Lennart Marianec and Mats Homler. They will go shortly to the top step of the podium at the end of the final GT2 European Series race. Of course, the SRO calendar far from done. Still championships to be resolved here today in GT4 and GT3. The Intercontinental GT Challenge is in America in a week's time. And then fast forward to December and a new season starts with Asian Le Mans, of which SRO contributes the GT3 element of the grid. However, back to GT2 and 4th overall and another AM win, Philippe Pret. That is an 8th victory of the season. What a result.
10 victories, a perfect year. Congratulations, Philippe.
Yes, exactly. Perfect year. We finished well. And I hope to enjoy again next year.
You'll be back ready to do it all over again? A back-to-back championship win?
Exactly. We try. The team is ready. It's only me.
Congratulations. Well deserved.
Yeah, 2 AM titles in a row. A third would be quite something, wouldn't it? So 8 out of 10, not a bad track record for Philippe Pret, and he very shortly will make his way up onto the podium. A great result for the Maserati driver. So Philippe Pret, our AM champion, Bronnet Formanek and Stefan Rossina absent from the grid this weekend, are Pro-Am champions of the season. The final GT2 race of the season began with Mauro Calamia on pole position, but a good getaway by Neil Montserrat in the Mercedes AMG put him on the outside as they got to turn 1. The nose of the Mercedes was ahead, but Calamia went to the inside line. Contact was made and Calamia was deemed to be the guilty party. In the end, it mattered not. There was enough damage to put the Maserati out of the race, and the Mercedes limped on but was badly delayed. Freddie Tomlinson was able to pick his way up the order early doors, getting himself past Andre Rockroche, who briefly led AM, but he was also overtaken by charging Philippe Pret. A very unhappy Calamia was into the pit lane and into retirement, slamming shut the door as he walked away. The car would be given a penalty, but it mattered not. It was out. Mats Homler, meanwhile, had to start from the pits, having missed yesterday's race, but the car would soon be chasing for the race lead. Yesterday's winning car, the Audi of Pierre Caffa, was handed over to Otto Blank, but Blank, new to the championship, struggled for pace and fell back. Oliver Freimut failed to get to the end, mechanical problems stopping him towards the very end of the race. Eventually, Petrolici was able to move his way past the Audi and gain 5th place overall. Didn't affect their class positions, but it did change things overall. As for the outright win, it was going to be Lennart Marianec and Mats Homler, but for 2nd place, all drama right at the very end, as Marius Eigner was just able to fend off the Ginetta. Lawrence Tomlinson at the wheel as they dive down through turn 13. Checker flag at the ready though, Mats Homler and Lennart Marianec, winners of the last GT2 race of the year. So, out of overalls and into blazer, Stefan Rattel is ready to look after presentations then on the podium, as Freddie and Lawrence Tomlinson are already there for 3rd place. Now for 2nd, up come Marius Eigner and Reinhard Koffler. Hopefully we'll see more of Marius Eigner next year. And then the top step of the podium is going to go on the way of another KTM combination. It's going to be for Lennart Marianec and for Mats Homler. They will step forward in a moment for the top step. Up they come, to the delight of a hard-working team, the RTR Project squad that have looked after that car to get it onto the track after missing yesterday's race. So congratulations to our winning drivers, and now with their Pirelli caps on head, the trophies are brought forward. It is Emilia Capasso from the marketing side of Pirelli Motorsport who will hand over the trophies. First of all to the Tomlinsons. The Ginetta making its race debut this weekend, and successfully so as well. Reinhard Koffler, a good return to the championship. They were 5th in yesterday's race after an early spin. 2nd today for Reinhard Koffler and the taller Marius Eigner. The winning team is RCR Projects, and the winning drivers will be the last ones to receive trophies, and they are going to be Lennart Marionech and Matto Homola. Matto in the predominantly black overalls, and they are very happy indeed with that result. It looked very bleak even when the car couldn't get to the grid, but from the pits they have done it, and honours fall the way of Homola and Marionech in this last GT2 European Series race of the year. The winning team gets together, and then photographs to be taken. All smiles then from our Pro-Am winners. Congratulations to Philippe Pret as well as our Am winner to round out a really competitive season of racing in the GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli.